Hello, this is Intuitive Anna Priscilla. It's a new week, and if you've been following my channel, you realize that I did all pink cards last week. So this week I'm going in a totally different direction. I decided to use my traditional Sybilla and Gypsy fortune-telling cards this week. So this is a collection of traditional European fortune-telling cards that were developed in the late 1800s in Austria and Italy. And then there's one deck here that's kind of the odd one out. This is the Gypsy Witch fortune-telling cards, and these were versions of the other cards that were brought to the United States by German and Austrian immigrants. So they're related, but these are the ones that were published in the United States in about 1903 to 1906. But all of these other decks are from the late 1800s. So the kind of grandmothers of them all are these cards that are called, these are Austrian cards. They would be translated as Gypsy cards. Some people take exception to that because they actually are European and no one knows that they were used by the Gypsies, so some people call them Bohemian cards. But these are 36 card decks that were developed for fortune-telling specifically. In the Austro-Hungarian Empire during the 1900s, fortune-telling was very popular, as was in the spiritualist movements in England and the United States. And so these decks were 36 cards, which were based basically on the French piquet decks. So these were not French cards. The French actually were developing their own system of cards. These are German, Austrian-based cards, and they're not spiritual in any way. They really just describe, you can see, everyday situations. So here's people playing cards and losing money. Or here, this is the lover, and you can see the uniform of the time. So these were popular for as fortune-telling decks. So this was the Austrian deck, and this is the Hungarian, because the Austria and Hungary had were part of this huge empire. So they're basically the same cards, just a little bit different illustrations. So here we have love. So these are different from tarot cards. They have no trump cards or playing cards. These are strict fortune-telling cards, and they really deal with the emotions and relationships and everyday social interactions of people. So you can see, like, here is thinking. Here's the baby. So they're really good for straight fortune telling. They don't try to give you any moral lessons or anything like that. And they're not related to playing cards. So these were the early ones from Austria, but the Italians developed their own style decks. They wanted a little bit more juice. So they used the 52 playing cards as a basis for their decks. And they did actually ascribe playing card attributes to the different cards. So here we have, this is happiness of the heart. We have money. And then we have the playing cards. This would be hearts. These would be hearts cards, which would be emotions. This is a flory. These are spades. No clubs. So they're just describing different situations in life. So they're not telling you what to do. They're just exploring the situations that are in and how those are likely to develop. So out of this is called the Vera Sybilla. So this is kind of the mother deck for the Sybilla cards that were developed in Italy in the mid to late 1800s. And then these are offshoots. So this is another Sybilla. And they called it Sybilla della Bohemian, but they also were called Gypsy Oracle cards, although there's no real connection with gypsies. And again, these are just kind of beautiful, fancier cards of the Vera Sybilla. Different type of illustration. So this is a 52 card deck as well. And these were developed, this particular deck, in the 1800s. Now, in the 1930s, 1935, an Art Deco deck was brought out, which is this one. Fortune-telling cards, Art Deco, with the zodiac backs. Art Deco fortune, and these are based very much again on the Sybilla, kind of a combination of the Sybilla and the German and Austrian cards. And these are more modern. For example, you can see there's more modern dress. So this is 1930s deck. This would be good news. This is a church or preacher. This is a letter from the postman. So we're going to be using these cards this week for our readings. So we're going to do kind of more of a fortune-telling type reading. And then these cards you've probably seen. You can see them all over in gift shops or toy shops. These are the Gypsy Witch fortune-telling cards. Now these have very big playing card inserts. So these were developed so you could play cards. Again, there's 52 cards here. And then they have the little picture. And it's thought that these were published in the United States in 1903 to 1906, depends on who you read. So the story is that German and Austrian, maybe even Italian immigrants brought cards with them, and that's how these were developed. These are a little bit different because they actually have writing that tells you the meaning of the card. It says the heart signifies great joy when near. So this would be when near. It's the card signifying the reader. Or children signify friendly disposition and gentleness. So these cards actually have meanings and instructions. The mouse denotes loss by theft. Nearby, so nearby to the significator, which would be the man or the woman. It denotes recovery after great difficulty, but distant from the significator, the loss will be irretrievable. And this is very similar to the Lenormand. The Lenormand meaning for mice, and the system of reading Lenormand, which is near and far to the significator, which would be the man and the woman cards. So this is kind of a combination between some Lenormand. This would be a straight Lenormand, crossroads. A lot of these are Lenormand cards, with some other cards added in. So it's kind of the same tradition, the German, Lenormand, and Gypsy cards, with a little bit of a different twist. And most of these decks were read in grand tableaus, which is where you lay out the 36 cards, or depending on which deck, or the 52. And then you read the cards in relation to the man and the woman significator. So, for example, in the Sybilla cards, it would be the sweetheart. So this would be the woman inquiring about her reading. And there would be same versions of that in each of these. This would be the male significator in the Gypsy cards. So I thought it would be fun to use some real fortune-telling cards this week. No poofy pink cards or lovely soft pink cards or oracle cards. We're going to use some hardcore, old-fashioned fortune-telling cards and see how we get on with those this week. So I hope that was a little bit of understanding about these cards. They're really fun to read, but I'll warn you, they don't pull any punches. These cards are not for the faint-hearted. They're not there to help you towards enlightenment. They're trying to tell you that someone's jealous, or you're being jealous, or someone's sneaking behind your back, or here you are dreaming of things that you want to accomplish. This is a man of letters or learning. So they're very, very straightforward. La Constanza, this is like constancy. And they also, the La Vera Sybilla relates back to Roman and classical times. You can see these columns and everything. Because people in those days would have been very versed in the classics. They would have studied Greek history, Roman history, that kind of thing. Here we have Cupid, the god of the little god of love. So there you are. We're going to have a little bit of fun, a little bit of hard-hitting fortune telling this week. So thank you for listening. I will put the links of the names of the decks and who publishes them in the description box. Most of them are published by Piatnik, although we have Lo Scarabeo for these cards. But a lot of them are published by German publishers. And of course, this the Gypsy, which is, I think it's US Game System. This is an old box. I don't see, is it? Yes, US Game System. So this is an American deck. So thank you for listening, and get ready for a week of fortune telling. And if you like my little videos, please like and subscribe. And we will be looking, and there's some traditional spreads, shorter spreads with these cards that I will be using this week with you. So thank you. Here's the baby. Let's start a new chapter. Let's learn some new cards this week. Thank you. If you like, please like and subscribe.